Okay, so let's unpack this today. I want you to imagine a song.
Just any song.
No, not just any song. I want you to imagine a piece of music that is ostensibly about a baby sleeping in a manger.
Right, the classic setup.
Exactly, the classic Christmas setup. You know, you've got the straw, the donkey, the silent night, whole vibe.
Sure.
But the music itself sounds like a coronation march for a king entering a throne room to claim an empire.
It's a jarring contrast.
It really is. And at the same time, the lyrics aren't your standard sleep in heavenly peace kind of thing.
Far from it.
They are this mind-bending series of logical impossibilities, just philosophical paradoxes that would honestly make a quantum physicist's head spin.
It is a fascinating juxtaposition, isn't it? You expect a lullaby and you get a revolution instead.
Yes, a revolution. And here is where it gets really, really interesting for this deep dive.
Right, because the context always shifts.
Exactly. This song, which starts as a theological puzzle in the late 1700s, ends up becoming a national anthem.
For a country that technically didn't exist at the time.
Right. And then it becomes a song of resistance in World War II concentration camps. And wait for it.
Go ahead.
It becomes the theme music for a major civilization in a global strategy video game played by millions of teenagers today.
That is quite the trajectory. I mean, from the quill pen to the pixel, it really speaks to the durability of the work.
Doesn't it? So the song we are diving into today is titled Bóg się rodzi.
Which is Polish.
Yes, and in English that translates to God is born.
A very direct title.
Very. Now, if you are just scanning a Spotify playlist or looking at a hymnal index, that title sounds like your standard one-of-the-mill Christmas carol.
You might expect something soft.
Right, something gentle, maybe a flute in the background, very peaceful acoustic guitar.
But if you assumed that you would be missing the sheer weight of this piece.
Because it's not just a carol.
No, this isn't just a carol at all. In Poland, this is widely considered the national Christmas hymn.
Which is a huge title.
It occupies a space that is almost unique in global culture. It completely bridges the gap between religious devotion and a fierce, almost desperate national identity.
And we aren't just saying that for effect here, because the poet Jan Lecho actually went on record considering it a national anthem for a time.
He did. He thought it represented the soul of the people better than the actual political anthems of the era.
Which is wild for a song about the nativity.
Exactly. Lecho saw something in it that completely transcended the holiday season. It's beloved, it's stately, and historically speaking, it is massive.
It's defined the Polish soul for over 2 centuries.
It's the kind of song that when the first chord hits, everyone in the room instinctively stands up a little straighter.
So our mission today is to figure out how that actually happened. How does a song written in 1792?
A time when the world was completely different, by the way.
Right. How does it become a symbol of survival for a modern nation? We're going to look at the historical records, the literary analysis, and the cultural impact.
We need to unpack those rhetorical tautologies.
Which is a fancy way of saying oxymorons.
Yes, exactly. The oxymorons that make the lyrics a literary and theological masterpiece.
And we are going to connect a 16th century coronation dance to a prisoner barracks in Auschwitz. And finally, yes, to Civilization V.
It's a journey from the Baroque palaces of the aristocracy straight to the darkest corners of the 20th century and then right into the digital age.
It is a wild ride. So let's start at the beginning, the origin story.
Let's do it.
We are setting the time machine to the year 1792.
A very, very significant year in European history, and specifically for Poland.
Right. Set the scene for us. What is the mood?
Well, you have to understand the anxiety of the era. The country is on the brink of major political upheaval. This is the era of the partitions.
The partitions. So Poland is being carved up.
Exactly. Poland, which had been a massive commonwealth, is actively being carved up by its neighbors.
Russia, Prussia, Austria.
Yes, the nation is literally disappearing from the map. It's not a metaphor.
It's an existential crisis. It's not just a matter of, oh, we might lose a war and pay a tax. It's, we might cease to exist as a people.
Precisely. And amidst this rapid crumbling of the state, we have a poet named Franciszek Karpiński.
Karpiński. He's the guy behind the words.
He is.
Who was he exactly? Was he a soldier? A politician?
Neither, actually. He was widely known as the poet of the heart.
Poet of the heart.
Yes, he was a sentimentalist. He wasn't a firebrand radical yelling in the streets. He was an educated man, deeply religious, but also deeply connected to the culture of the nobility.
Okay, so he's moving in high circles.
Very high. And in 1792, he publishes a compilation of his works titled Pieni na Bun.
which translates to songs of piety.
Right. Songs of piety.
That sounds, very serious, very churchy.
It was intended to be. This wasn't a pop album release.
Mhm.
You know, this was a collection of religious works intended to genuinely deepen the spiritual life of the reader.
But the production of this book is interesting in itself.
Very. It wasn't printed in a big city hub like Warsaw or Krakow.
Where was it printed?
It was printed by the Basilian monks.
The Basilian monks. That's a very specific detail in the sources. Why does that matter?
It matters because it anchors the song in the eastern borderlands of the Commonwealth.
Yep.
The Basilians were a Greek Catholic order.
Okay, so a different tradition entirely.
Yes. And they had a printing shop in a town called Supershul. So you have this amazing convergence of a lay poet, Karpiński, and a monastic order bringing this work into the world.
It shows that this was a project of faith from the ground up, not some royal decree.
Exactly. But the debut of the song wasn't just ink on paper.
Right. It wasn't like people just read the lyrics in a quiet room and nodded along. It was performed live.
Correct. And the location of that first performance tells you a lot about the social standing of Karpiński and the song itself.
Because Karpiński wasn't living in a garret somewhere starving.
Not at all. From 1785 to 1818, he lived in the Branicki Palace in Białystok.
The Branicki Palace. I looked this up before we started. It's often called the Versailles of Poland.
It absolutely was.
We are talking about serious opulence here. Elaborate gardens, sculptures, gold leaf everywhere.
Precisely. It was a major center of culture and high society, and the song was presented publicly in the old basilica in Białystok.
Just down the road from the palace.
Yes. In fact, historical records suggest it was performed there even before the book was officially published.
Wow, so it was a live premiere.
Imagine the scene. You have the aristocracy, the local faithful, the absolute tension of the looming war outside. And then this song debuts in a massive, echoing basilica.
I love that there is a physical, tangible reminder of this, too. If you go to that church today, there's a tablet on the wall, right?
There is a commemorative tablet right there in the masonry that reads, "In this church, for the first time ever, Songs of Piety by Franciszek Karpiński were performed."
That is so cool. It grounds the song in a specific physical place.
You can stand exactly where the first listeners stood when they heard those opening chords.
Yeah.
It makes the history incredibly tangible.
Now we know it today as Bóg się rodzi, God is born, because that's the first line. And that's how we usually name songs in the folk tradition. Just grab the first words. But that wasn't the original title on the track list, was it?
No, technically the title in the original publication was Pieśń o Narodzeniu Paschim,
Which means what exactly?
on God's Nativity, or Song of the Birth of Our Lord.
Okay, so a much more formal, descriptive title.
Yes, Bóg się rodzi is just the incipit, the first phrase. But God is born is so immediate, so punchy, that it just overtook the formal title in common usage.
It is punchier. God is born. Boom. Immediate action.
It is.
And it's present tense, too. It's not God was born. It's God is born.
That's a really key observation. It sets the stakes right away and makes the event current. It's happening right now in the room with you.
So we have the lyrics by Karpiński. We have the specific place it debuted. But a song is 50% music.
Maybe more than 50%.
True. So who wrote the melody?
Well, this is one of the great mysteries of the piece, actually. The composer is completely unknown.
Really? Even with all that documentation about the printing shop and the palace debut. We know where Karpiński slept, but we don't know who wrote the notes.
Even with all that, we don't have a specific name attached to the notes. This isn't a case of a famous singer-songwriter duo like a Lennon and McCartney of the 1700s.
So where did the music come from?
The melody seems to have just emerged from the cultural ether. Or perhaps it was adapted from an existing theme. Some musicologists argue it might have been adapted from a Polonaise that was already popular at the court.
But no single composer claims it.
No. But even if we don't know the who, we certainly know the what. We know the style.
And this is critical, because when I think of Christmas carols, I think of Silent Night.
Right.
I think of lullabies. I think of swaying gently in 34 time, trying my absolute best not to wake the sleeping baby.
Exactly. Most carols traditionally lean heavily towards the pastoral. They are literal lullabies for a baby. They are intimate, quiet, very domestic.
But Bóg się rodzi is different.
It is a Polonaise.
A Polonaise. Now, for anyone listening who maybe skipped music appreciation class or who only knows that word from a classical piano playlist, let's unpack what that actually means.
A Polonaise, or Polonaise in Polish, is a dance.
But not like a club dance.
No, that word dance might actually be misleading to modern ears. It's not a fast jig. It's not a waltz where you spin around the floor dizzyingly fast.
What is it then?
It is a stately, royal, ceremonial procession. It's in 34 time, yes, but it has a very specific, majestic rhythm.
How does it go?
It goes dee-da-da, dee-da-da-da. It's a walking dance.
It's the kind of music you walk into a throne room to. It's the music you play when you want to show off your uniform and your medal.
Exactly. It's the sound of royalty. It is literally the dance of the nobility, the Schlachte.
Yeah.
And historically, this specific melody is traditionally linked to the coronation of Polish kings.
Wait, so let me get this straight. They took a melody used to crown kings like political earthly kings with swords and armies, and they used it for a baby in a manger.
Yes. And the connection dates back as far as the reign of King Stefan Batory in the 16th century.
The 16th century?
Yes, there are clear, undeniable melodic similarities to the coronation music of that era.
That is a bold move. That is a subversive move.
It creates a fascinating contrast, doesn't it? You're singing about a helpless infant, a baby born in a shed, as the lyrics eventually mention.
Right.
But the music is telling your subconscious that this is a king. It's a literal coronation anthem applied to the King of Heaven.
It changes the energy entirely. As I said, Silent Night makes you want to whisper so you don't wake the baby. This song makes you want to stand up straight and salute.
It dignifies the event. It frames the nativity not just as a tender family moment, but as a massive cosmic royal event.
The arrival of a monarch.
And for a nation that was actively losing its own monarchs, losing its own sovereignty at that exact moment in time.
Singing about a king who cannot be deposed.
That is powerful.
Which brings us perfectly to the lyrics, because if the music is full of royal dignity and structure, the lyrics are full of, well, confusion. But a beautiful mathematical confusion.
Controlled confusion, I would say.
Let's look at the structure first. It's very rigid, isn't it?
Extremely rigid. It consists of 5 verses. Each verse has exactly 8 lines, and each line has exactly 8 syllables.
8 lines, 8 syllables. That is incredibly orderly.
It really shows Karpiński's absolute discipline as a poet. He's building a very, very tight container for some very explosive ideas. He isn't rambling. Every single syllable counts.
Okay, here is where it gets really, really interesting for me. The first verse. It's famous for using a specific literary device. I remember learning about this back in high school, oxymorons.
Yes, the oxymoron, or what we might call rhetorical tautology in this more academic context.
The juxtaposition of 2 opposite words to create a new meaning.
Exactly.
So let's actually go through these because they are wild. The first line is, God is born, power is trembling.
Stop there for a second. God is born. That implies a beginning, right? A vulnerability. Babies are born. Gods usually just are. They exist outside of time.
Right.
But then power is trembling. Usually power makes other people tremble. If you have the power, you are the one making the earth shake.
But here, power itself is afraid.
Yes, strength is trembling before vulnerability.
Then the next line is, Lord of the heaven bared.
Or stripped. Majesty versus nakedness. The absolute king of the universe is exposed without robes, without armor.
And then my favorite one, which sounds like bad physics but just incredible poetry, fire solidifying.
Ogiepcepni in Polish.
Fire is solidifying. Or fire congeals.
Think about that image. It's an impossible physical change.
Right. Fire is energy. It's heat movement plasma.
Exactly. To solidify is to become cold, static, hard. Karpiński is saying that the dynamic, uncontainable energy of God has become a solid, touchable object, a human body.
Wow. And then light is darkening.
Again, the totally counterintuitive nature of the event. The source of light entering a dim world and perhaps darkening by hiding its true brilliance within a human body so it simply doesn't blind us.
And then the kicker, the one that really lands the philosophical punch of the whole piece, the infinite is bounded.
That is the theological core of the entire piece. The infinite is bounded. Ma granis niscitsani.
The limitless one has accepted limits.
Think about the definition of God in classical theology. God is infinite. No beginning, no end, no physical borders.
Right.
And then think about the definition of a human. We are defined entirely by our boundaries. Our skin, our lifespan, our intellect. We're limited creatures.
We have an expiration date. We take up a specific amount of space.
Yes. Karpiński is saying that the infinite has voluntarily stepped inside the box of the finite.
Why did Karpiński do this, though? Was he just trying to be clever? You know, showing off his vocabulary to the guys back at the Brnicki Palace?
It wasn't just to be clever. I mean, he was a skilled poet. But the purpose was to emphasize the miracle.
How so?
Well, if you are trying to describe something that is effectively impossible, God, who is everything becoming a human who is small and fragile, you cannot use normal linear language.
It falls short.
Normal language breaks down completely. Logic breaks down. You have to use impossible language to describe an impossible event.
You have to crash concepts together to make a spark.
Exactly. The paradox is the point. You can't explain it. You can only marvel at the contradiction.
This analysis isn't just us reading into it either. This isn't just English majors overanalyzing a pop song. Pope John Paul II was a huge fan of this song, right?
He was a massive fan. And obviously, as a Pole, he grew up singing it every year. But even as Pope, he referenced it explicitly.
Really? When?
There was a famous talk he gave on December 23, 1996, at the Paul VI Auditorium in the Vatican. He actually used Bóg się rodzi to explain the theology of the Incarnation to the entire world.
What did he actually say?
He said, in assuming human nature, the infinite God at the same time assumed the limitations of a creature.
That's a direct parallel to the poem.
Yes. He pointed out that the poet used these exact contrasts to express what is essential to the mystery. He basically used Karpiński as a primary theological source.
It's amazing to think of a pope citing a folk carol well, a national hymn to teach high theology. It shows how deeply embedded this song is in the Polish understanding of faith. It's not just a song, it's a catechism.
And the lyrics aren't just poetic invention either. They're deeply, deeply biblical.
They are.
They're supported directly by the Gospel of John. You know, the Word became flesh and lived among us.
Karpiński weaves that straight into the text.
He does.
The lyrics go, Word turned flesh to prove the story lived among us, born of heaven.
It's a perfect poetic translation of John 1.12. So you have high theology, profound biblical literacy, and impossible physics, all wrapped up in a royal dance tune.
It's a masterpiece. So we have this incredible theological opening. But then as we get to the end of the song, something shifts. We move from the cosmic to the specific.
Yes, we move from heaven down to earth.
Verse 5, this is the patriotic turn. And this is where the song truly earns its status as a national anthem.
The song completely stops being just about baby Jesus and starts being about us. Or specifically about Poland.
It's a plea, isn't it?
It is a desperate plea. The lyrics say, raise your hand now, child of glory, bless our homeland now and ever.
It's homeland.
That insertion is crucial. You have to remember the year, 1792.
Right, Poland is in deep, deep trouble. The wolves are at the door.
The nation is facing partition.
Yeah.
It is fighting for its very existence. So when Karpiński writes, bless our homeland, it's not a generic, gentle prayer like bless this house or bless this food.
Yeah.
It's an urgent political cry for national survival.
It connects the divine blessing directly to the political and physical well-being of the nation.
And that is exactly why it resonates so deeply in Polish history. It's not just save my soul, it's save my country.
It binds the identity of the nation to the providence of God.
And think about what happened just after 1795. Poland completely disappeared from the map for 123 years.
123 years. That's generations of people born, living their whole lives, and dying without a legally recognized country.
Exactly. So where did Poland exist in that time? It didn't exist in a government. It didn't exist on any political map of Europe.
It existed in the culture.
It existed in the language, in the church, and in this song. Singing Bless Our Homeland was a profound act of defiance when the homeland didn't legally exist.
It was a portable fatherland.
That's a beautiful way to put it. Yes, a portable fatherland.
And that binding, that connection between the song and the nation's struggle, sadly, that was tested in the most horrific way possible in the 20th century.
It was. If 1792 is the beginning of the tragedy, the 1940s were the absolute nadir.
We need to shift the tone here for a moment. We are going from the palaces of the 18th century to the barracks of Auschwitz during World War II.
This is one of the most powerful historical accounts regarding this carol. It comes from a prisoner named Joseph Jedrzej.
And his account is preserved in the Auschwitz Museum collections, right?
Yes, it is. It gives us a window into what this song actually does in a crisis. Not just what it means, but what it does.
Set the scene for us. What did Jedrzej experience?
It's Christmas Eve in the camp. Now you have to imagine the sensory details. The utter darkness, the freezing cold. Polish winters are brutal, and these men have no proper clothing.
Just those thin striped uniforms.
Right. The smell of the barracks, the overwhelming despair, and then the German guards and perhaps some favorite prisoners began singing German carols.
Probably Still Knock, Silent Night, or something similar.
Most likely. Traditional, beautiful German carols. But for the Polish prisoners, hearing the language of their oppressors singing about the Prince of Peace.
It must have been jarring.
It must have felt like a profound mockery.
So what did they do? Did they just stay silent?
They responded. Jędrek describes it vividly. He says the Polish prisoners began to sing Bóg się rodzi.
They sang the coronation Polonaise.
Yes. Jędrek described the sound of the Polish carol rising up as waves of the sea that came with powerful words.
Waves of the sea, that implies a real force, an overwhelming volume. They weren't just whispering in the corner.
They were singing. And think about the specific lyrics they were singing in that moment. God is born, the powers tremble.
Wow. Stop and just think about that.
In the context of a concentration camp, power is trembling takes on a completely different meaning.
In the theology, power trembling means the spiritual powers or the abstract concept of power bowing before God.
But in Auschwitz,
The powers are the Nazis. The powers are the SS guards standing outside with machine guns.
the powers are the electrified fences, the watchtowers.
By singing that line, the prisoners were totally recontextualizing their reality. They were declaring that the earthly tyranny they were facing, which seemed absolutely absolute and invincible, was actually trembling before a higher power.
It's an act of pure defiance. It's psychological warfare.
It is absolute spiritual defiance, asserting human dignity in a place designed specifically to strip it away.
It's saying, you may have the guns, you may have the dogs, but you are trembling before the truth we are singing about.
It gives me chills just thinking about it. That transition from a theological paradox in a palace to a political weapon of hope in a death camp.
It transforms the song from a hymn into armor.
It really proves that a song is never just a song. It completely changes based on where it is sung and who is singing it.
In the palace, it was majestic. In the camp, it was revolutionary.
And speaking of who is singing it and where it ends up, the song didn't stay in the 18th century and it didn't stay in the 1940s. It is literally everywhere in modern culture.
It is culturally ubiquitous in Poland today. If you look at the list of artists who have covered it, it's basically a who's who of Polish music.
We're talking Anna Maria Jopak, Violeta Viles, Mikasz Bajor, Krzysztof Karasik, Eleni Zoka.
Pop stars, jazz singers, opera singers.
Different styles, different eras, but they all return to this one hymn.
It's a standard. You simply cannot get through a Polish Christmas without hearing it. It's like White Christmas in the U.S., but with way more historical baggage.
Way more. And here's where it gets really, really interesting for the gamers out there.
I love this part.
This 1792 carol has found a totally new life in the digital world. And I bet Franciszek Karpiński never saw this coming.
No, I don't think video game soundtrack was on his bingo card.
Ever.
But yes, this is a fascinating crossover.
Bóg się rodzi is featured in the video game Civilization V.
Specifically in the Brave New World expansion pack.
Right. And for those who don't know, Civilization is a massive game where you pick a leader and build an empire that stands the test of time. You can play as the Romans, the Americans, the Zulus.
And you can play as the Polish civilization.
Which is led by King Casimir III the Great, a medieval king.
So imagine this. You are playing a global strategy game. You are building cities, researching technologies, waging wars against Gandhi or Napoleon.
And the theme music representing the entire Polish civilization is an instrumental version of a Christmas carol.
It speaks to how identifiable that melody truly is. The game composers, specifically Jeff Knorr, needed a shorthand for Poland.
They needed a sound.
They needed a melody that instantly communicated the spirit of that nation to a global audience.
Yeah.
They didn't choose a generic folk dance. They didn't choose a modern pop song. They chose Bóg się rodzi.
It completely reinforces that idea we started with, that this isn't just a holiday song, it's a national anthem equivalent.
It encapsulates the history. The royal Polonaise rhythm fits a game about kings and empires perfectly. It sounds noble. It sounds like a nation that has survived.
It's so funny to think of a gamer in, say, Brazil or Japan humming along to this tune while conquering the map, maybe not realizing they are humming a song about the Incarnation from 1792.
That is the power of great art. It travels. It crosses borders and mediums. It carries the DNA of the culture, even if the listener doesn't know a single lyric.
So let's recap this journey. This has been quite a ride. We started in a palace in Białystok in 1792 with Franciszek Karpiński and the Basilian monks facing the end of their nation.
We moved through the mystery of the composer and the majesty of the Polonaise rhythm, that royal coronation dance for the King of Heaven.
We saw how the music itself subverted the idea of power entirely.
We unpacked the fire solidifying and the light darkening, those incredible oxymorons that capture the impossible nature of God becoming man.
We saw how Pope John Paul II used those very lines to teach the world.
We saw how the patriotic verse tied the song to the survival of the nation acting as a portable fatherland during the 123 years of partition.
And we saw it lead to the freezing barracks of Auschwitz, where it became a literal roar of defiance against tyranny.
And finally, we saw it land in pop culture and even video games, proving its incredible staying power. It survived wars, regimes, and technological revolutions.
It really confirms that Bóg się rodzi is far more than a hymn. It is a container for Polish identity.
It blends faith, history, struggle, and hope into those tight, mathematical, 8-syllable lines. It's a masterpiece of cultural engineering.
So what does this all mean for us? Why does this matter if you, the listener, aren't Polish or if you aren't religious? Why should you care about an 18th century carol?
I think it matters because it shows us how art can actually function in the real world. It shows us that the most complex ideas, like the infinite being bounded, can be preserved in something as simple as a song.
It reminds us that culture is a lifeline.
Yes. In the darkest moments, like in those camps, people didn't recite political manifestos. They sang. They sang about a power that transcends their current reality.
That is a powerful thought. Art isn't just decoration, it's a survival tool.
It is. It gives you a place to stand when the ground is shaking beneath you.
I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We talked heavily about that line. The infinite is bounded. Magranus miscationi.
Yes, the central paradox of the piece.
We usually think of boundaries as bad things. We live in a world that tells us constantly to be limitless. We want unlimited data, unlimited potential. We want to break all the rules.
We want to be infinite. We see constraints as failures.
But Karpiński suggests that true power, true miracle, is only found when the infinite actually accepts boundaries, when the limitless accepts limits.
That is a profound paradox to live by.
How often do we define things by their limitations? I can't do this because I don't have enough time or money or energy. But maybe, just maybe, the limitation is the whole point.
Maybe the boundary is where the art happens.
Where the life happens. You can't have a melody without the strict math of the rhythm. You can't have a painting without the edge of the canvas.
The fire must solidify to be touched. The infinite must be bounded to be known.
Exactly. It's a thought that applies to leadership, to creativity, and really to the human condition itself. Something to think about next time you hit a wall.
Because maybe that wall is where the miracle starts.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Thank you.